Have you ever met someone who is always quiet? May it be at our home, in a relationship, in school, or even at our workplace. The kind of a person everyone ignores because they don't speak much. Many people assume that if someone is quiet, they are weak, or maybe they are shy, or have nothing to offer, or maybe they are introverts. But sometimes, those people who are quiet in the room, they are preparing for the loudest success. Today's story is about Brian, a Form 4 student whose silence was mistaken by his weakness or for his weakness. His classmates, they laughed at him, you know. People never noticed the boy, and many people maybe believed he would never, amount to much. What happened on graduation day, taught the entire school a lesson they will never forget. My dear fans, stay with me until the end of this story because it must change the way you view people differently. So, Brian joined Peace Academy out of scholarship. Why? Because his mother worked as a cleaner in the same school. He was the tallest boy. He was the most athletic. He wasn't funniest. He just kept on himself. He never talked much. During breaks, while other people are playing or maybe chatting, or doing other sort of things, he preferred sitting down, either under a tree alone or maybe somewhere alone, with the books on his hand, reading. Or even those small notes people used to call them Wakenya. Of course, everyone noticed. Some people thought it was self-esteem because of the mother who was a cleaner. And of course, we tried talking to him over self-esteem. Others would ask, why is he always alone? Is he an introvert? I think he is scared of people, and other people would joke. Soon, everyone, began calling him a professor because of how he answered the question in a classroom. He was always right. Others would call him strange, because he behaved weird. He was not the best student in class, by the way. He was just trying, and every day there was a positive index when he did his exam after doing his exam. Every time Brian walked past people, student would whisper, and it was all about him. They would say something, whispering, and then they would laugh loudly. I hope you understand such people. Some mocked him anyway. Some even told him that the mother was a cleaner, but he never reported. He never reported. Maybe the friends would tell us and then we would address the issue. Others ignored him and they were like, he's weird. By the way, he had everyone from the learners, from the classmate. But he never argued. He chose to keep quiet. Not forgetting that one of his, strength was smiling. And such a sweet smile. Yes. So, what his classmate never knew is that Brian's life was a tough one. He didn't have a father, and they were struggling at home. And those things bothered him a lot. Every evening after school, Brian helped his mother with with homework. We call it the chores, yes. At night, there was no electricity. So, what did Brian use? He used a lamp. Yeah, because they could not even afford candles. Sometimes he could get tired, Sometimes he felt discouraged. But he kept on going. After seeing how the mother worked so hard in the same school, and he had to sacrifice, One evening, she looked at Brian and it was, "My son, keep going. Your effort today may not be seen, but one day people will see the result." Brian never forgot the words. So as KCSE approached, of course, there is usually pressure everywhere. So pressure filled the school. So some students now began, working hard. Others were looking for shortcuts that they could not find. So they wasted a lot of time. But Brian kept on working harder. Some would even approach him that during cases now that he reads, if they could at least put his paper well so that they could see, the answers. But you see, as always, Brian never responded to them, you know. And Brian believed in working hard. Brian believed in working smart, and that is what he did. He knew that success, God would give him the success that they were praying so hard with the mother. So months later, after examination, the result were released. You know the time that KCSE is usually released, right? Yes. So the school organized a graduation ceremony. Yeah. And you can imagine now the prize giving day is here. Brian, of course, and done marvelous. Yeah. So everybody smiled at Brian after seeing him. And that day now the school had given the mother, an off so that she could also attend the meeting, the prize giving day for the son. So the principal, it's that period now all the speeches are done and now the principal is there, he stepped on the stage and he's there now to announce the result, to announce the winners. And he said, "This year's top performing student is..." Everyone was silent. Guess who? I'm sure you're guessing. It was Brian. Yes, Brian Amani was the top performing student, top in all subjects. He had gotten A in all subjects. Who does that? A average, A in all subjects. For a few seconds, nobody moved. People were quiet, including even the boys who had come, the classmates. Now, they were very active clapping for him. The boy they laughed at, now it was time for them to clap. And you know what? Brian walked majestically on the stage, to receive his award. The people continued, talking about, as Brian was going to the stage, he continued, speaking about his handwork, how he was, he was and all that. And finally what happened? He announced that Brian had received full university scholarship. And by the way, Brian also was to join Equity for a job. And every time you'll be on long holiday, you'll be working with the Equity. His mother couldn't believe the prayers, the sacrifice, every sleepless night. She used to wake up at 3 a.m. to pray. That is what she used to tell us. Every pain, the painful moment. God had answered his prayers. Now, here came now the time for the award. Guess what? The principal gave him 10,000 in every subject. I remember he takes 8 subjects. So he received 8 times 10,000. He also received 10,000 for A as an average. So every A was 10,000. And that was policy in that school. The chair of BOM could also not be left behind. He gave him 10,000 for every A. Every politician who was there could not be left behind because those are the moments where by now you are campaigning for the next, campaigns. Yes, and they gave him 10,000 for every A. Can you imagine how many thousands of money, how many bunches of 10,000 did this boy walk with? All the guests that were there, Some parent even woke up, and, he was there receiving in a very humble way. Tears of joy could be seen on his eyes. Honestly, I was among the happiest people. Yes. Now, do we have a Brian in your area, in your environment? Let me call it an environment. It's not just a Brian in school. Do you have a Brian in your workplace? A Brian who doesn't talk? A Brian who keeps to his corner? If he has to talk, maybe he's receiving a call. A Brian, he or she, who is very busy with work. When the colleagues are making noise or they are very busy, talking, he has no even idea of what is happening. That is the kind of Brian I'm talking about. But let me tell you, these Brians, they are gifted differently. Yes, God has a way of creating people. They might be quiet, but let's not judge them. I'm sure even in the family we have these Brians. Brians who feel like people are nagging him, even when you listen to music or even when you talk and all that. These Brians, they only enjoy when they're watching news and when they're alone. Yes, those are the Brians I'm talking about. Life has a way of surprising people. The people we ignore today may inspire us tomorrow. Please, and I repeat, please, never laugh at someone because they are quiet or because they are different from others. Never assume someone's future because of who they are today. You never know about tomorrow. Never, judge people by their background, or from where they come from. You never know the blessings God has kept for them. We earn success through discipline. This boy was not a bright boy, but he was very disciplined. He ignored a lot. You can see how grouping can affect us because it's all about wastage of time. They wasted time, talking about a boy who was very disciplined and working hard. You don't have to make noise for people to recognize you. I think actions, as they say, action speaks harder than, words. People may forget your words anyway. They may even forget your appearance. However beautiful or handsome you are, people may forget you. But your discipline, your handwork, and success will forever be seen. Let's choose humility. Let's choose kindness. Let's choose perseverance. And that is what is lacking in the current generation. Because one day, I repeat, one day, your action will speak louder than your voice. So, if this story has touched your heart, please like my video, please share, please subscribe to my channel. I repeat, subscribe. Don't fear, just leave. Give me that subscription button. I'm in the road to 500 subscribers. Share with the people who need an encouragement today or even now. And finally, in the comment section, don't forget to answer this question. Have you ever been underestimated? I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. May it be in school, may it be by your neighbors, your relatives, by the families, or maybe the colleagues. If not, have you ever underestimated someone? Because if you have never been underestimated, probably you underestimated someone by their quietness, by their character, by their personality. And if yes, what happened? What happened? Until God answers your prayer, keep believing in yourself. It is doable. Keep working hard. And remember, Your quiet season may be preparing you for your greatest victory. Why? Because I am a winner. You are a winner. Bye.